aside from my soul.
What's up? What's good? What is happening? Welcome to my live stream. I am the actual King Smith. I go by King. King is indeed my government name. And welcome to a Sunday edition of Chats with Dads. First of all, let me give myself a big L. All right. Let me give myself a big L because the stream was supposed to be at 2 o'clock today, and I didn't realize until I was trying to start this that I had set it for 8:30 using StreamYard. So first of all, for me, apologies. But to everybody else out there that's tuning in or that will catch the replay, welcome. Chats with Dads is a series that I do in which I have a conversation with other men out there across the world who are fathers, and I use platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn actually to have these conversations, all right, and talk about what it is to be a father and what it is to be a man. Today's guest I met through one of the other content creators that I've been following since about the end of 2019, a guy by the name of Coach Greg Adams. People call him CGA for short. CGA is a content creator, a father as well, who started this podcast called the Bounce Back Podcast. And as I was going through my divorce and I was looking at how to bounce back, I just typed in, how to bounce back from a divorce. And Greg Adams' content came up. I've been rocking with the guy since about the end of 2019, and he made a pivot over to this thing called the free agent lifestyle and has a message that's unique, pretty interesting, but following some of that message has allowed me to kind of gain some momentum and do the things that I'm doing today. And Henry Resilient, who I'm bringing up, is somebody that follows that same content creator. Henry Resilient is a man of many faces from what I'm learning, a professional guy as well. And he does content online and he's sharing his journey through life using content. And I'm going to bring him up now without further ado. Henry, my man, how's it going, brother?
Good, man. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Hey, first of all, thanks for joining. I feel a little bit underdressed because, I roll in the sleeves here, but, I've been seeing your live streams and you've been representing yourself with the suit and tie. Is that a content creator choice? Or cardigan.
Okay. I would never suit is too much, but when I was a professional investigator, if I had to go to a hearing, instead of a suit, I will opt for a cardigan and tie.
Okay.
So that's why I wear the cardigan and tie when I do my live streams. But typically it's a hoodie, but here we are.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, you know what? That's dope. That's dope because one of the things that as you do content, you've been doing content from what I've seen a few months now, unless you've had a previous channel.
I've been doing content for a while, but my divorce, my old channel got brought up in it. So I started a new channel because she wanted whatever equity or value she saw in it. So I started a new channel to get away from that channel.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, brother, let's jump into it and let's talk about that. So you are currently going through a divorce now.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the divorce for these cupcake pans actually did come up, and I am waiting on the date for me to pack them up and put them where she could receive them.
Man, it's rare to have somebody that actually talks about their divorce as they're going through, because there's a lot of legalese things around how things are. You don't want stuff to come up in discovery that can hurt you or whatnot. Were you nervous about talking about your own life as it's kind of happening for YouTube and kind of people to see out there?
Not really. I'm not sharing nothing that's private information per se. I'm just sharing my experience, and hopefully, through my experience, other men can learn like, hey, what's at risk in marriage? So if this was to come up in court, I would never defame my ex-wife or talk down to her. I'm just speaking the fact that those cupcake pans and other household items did were listed as marital property in my divorce. That's a factual statement.
Man, okay, so something that folks don't know, and I didn't even know this until I was going through my divorce, is that when you file or you're served, that's public record.
Yes,
And I didn't understand that until it happened to me when I was getting divorced into my young 30s. You have a compilation video that you created on your channel that, man,
it breaks
it
down divorce.
really blew my mind. There was one of the guys on there that said, you know, people don't people make decisions about marriage, having kids, and things like that, not fully understanding the impact, and that there needs to be classes in school that talks about this thing. Man, speak on that for a bit. And do you think that we're ever going to get to a space to where a lot of information that young men are needing, but just aren't getting, is there going to be a time to where we could get this information out there to the youngsters in school so that they understand the impact of vetting and choosing somebody to marry?
No. The short answer is no. And the
Mm,
video you're talking about is the alimony video, where in the first 1 minute, they talk about how people get married and they don't know, they don't understand the legal ramification of what a marriage is. And it should be taught in high school, but it won't. Unfortunately, uh, most men like myself find out the hard way after you get married. And when you go through a divorce, all of the legal ramifications of what a marriage means.
mm,
So
mhm.
you could say choose wisely, choose better. Even if you choose wisely, and hopefully you protect yourself with a prenup, I really hope you do. That does not eliminate someone from changing their mind about being in the relationship, being in the marriage. And you could use my marriage for example. When we first separated, she said she only wanted the equity in the house and 50-50 custody. But as the process went through, she changed her mind to wanting everything that she is legally entitled to, which includes my old YouTube channel, which includes these cupcake pans, which includes a bunch of assets, my pension, my retirement, my Bitcoin, things that she made zero contributions to financially. Equity in the house, that's fair. We both contributed to the house. But my pension, my retirement, that was just all my money. Well, when you marry, it's all our money. So
Yes, yes, that's all our money. I got married at 20. I got married at 20, and I, asked my wife and her parents, and I didn't think that getting married at 20, I would be divorced in my, mid 30s past the 10-year mark. But you're right, man. I think too, though, if I were to have something like that, have that actual sit down, that not just a one-time thing where you're taught, but it's understanding the impact. I'm not saying I would have been afraid of marriage, but I would have made different decisions, different choices, you know what I'm saying, so to speak. And brother, let me tell you, my divorce wasn't bad. We didn't hire any lawyers, we didn't use mediators,
mhm.
but there came a time where my ex-wife, had announced that she wasn't happy. I had some things that I was not doing proper as well, that I understand now, but I didn't quite get then. And I tell people, I got lucky. I got lucky in that it wasn't contentious, it wasn't bad, but it still wrecked me for a bit. I had to work my ass off to recover from that separation. And through our marriage, her and I had one child. My child doesn't live too far from me, and while the impact wasn't that big of a change on how it is for me as a father, it's still different, man. So you are a dad. How many kids do you have, if you don't mind sharing that?
I have
And
one
what's their
one
age?
kid. He is close to being 3, a
Ooh,
daughter. So I got
okay.
15 years of child support, and I have 50-50 custody. So that's another thing men don't know, that even if you have 50-50 custody, certain statutes in your state, if you make more money, you can still pay child support. In fact, my soon to be ex-wife, she travels for work, and I have the right of first refusal in my parenting plan, which means that when she travels for work and she cannot provide for our daughter, I get the first option to care for her overnight. So that just pushes it up more. So that means I'll have more than 50-50 custody and I'll still be paying child support.
And there was something that you said earlier, depending on the state. Now, I've been doing some reading and listening to other content creators, but ultimately doing my own research. Have you done research, man, to try to understand, like, you know, if there are states that are better for fathers out there if they were going through a divorce, and if there are some states that are just absolutely tragic for dads going
Yeah.
through a divorce?
Ohio, Kentucky. There are 3 states that when you divorce, the custody starts at 50-50.
Hmm.
Because, sometimes what the mothers would do is they'll go for full custody, not necessarily because they think you're a bad father, just so they can maximize the child support. I'm I'm just so Ohio, it's not I don't think it's official in Ohio yet, but, it's definitely official in Kentucky, and that's just the reality is California, I believe, is the worst state, though, for men getting custody.
Yes. Yes, by far from the research that I've done myself as a father trying to get custody of your kids, even if you have the financial resources, you have the time, it still seems like it's slanted towards the mother with no actual legit reason why. And
Mm.
I'm curious if that'll ever change. I don't get people that are living in California, men, and especially those that go through multiple marriages and divorces with all these kids. That has to you have to be insane to me to continue making those choices. And I'm aware of a few people personally, man. I personally know a guy, and I'm hoping that he comes up and talks about his situations and why he makes the choice that he's made. Married and divorced 3 times,
Oh my gosh.
7 kids total out of California. This guy pays more in taxes than what the average or pays more in child support than what the average person pays in taxes each year. And I find that insane. All right. I have
Some
some comments that I'd
Oh,
like to read off real quick. I have my own dad, man. He's on right now, and he said, marriage is not something that can be taught, only counseling. Hey, pops, I'm gonna have to disagree, man. I'm gonna have to disagree. I think having conversations like this with your elders, okay, your peers, and man, it's hard to say teachers, right? Because like somebody else said earlier, I'm not sure 100% that you can teach marriage and divorce in K through 12, but we can talk financial literacy.
y
Marriage is one of those things because you have a religious component to it, right? Then
sure.
there's the state component into it as well. But something that I heard CGA talk about is when he got on with Hafiz, or that whole interview, is there's no God in marriage, right?
There is not. I can attest to that.
Yep. When you bring up the divorce and you're filing, you aren't, saying, all right, well, with God, XYZ, but definitely when you're at the altar, and you have those vows, you're saying that. Personally, man, for you, Henry, how
Mhm.
have you kept your sanity through this change?
My daughter, I'll share a personal story. The movie Sing 1, it's on Netflix or some platform. They have a lot of, divorce songs in there, believe it or not. So, when I'm with her, she wants to watch Sing, and some of the songs are uplifting, but outside of spending time with my daughter, it's more so just telling my story. It's therapeutic, hopefully, like I said, other men figure out what marriage is and if it's for them. Um, Staying busy when my daughter's not around. That's the biggest thing. When she's not around, I need to stay busy because when she's not here, I'll just miss her because I still have a fairly sized house that is built for a family with just me in
Mhm,
it because I'm trying to buy her out of the house.
mhm.
So stay busy when your kid's not around. Now, for the guys with no kids and they getting cashed out in divorce, find a hobby or something, work out, and hopefully it's temporary. That's the best advice I can give the guys.
Okay. There's a lot of, and the reason why I asked that is one of the big things that come out of having a change in your household like that is stress. On your channel, you've talked about the actor Jason David Frank, JDF, may he rest in peace. And what people didn't know in his personal life was he was going through something serious over there, battling some custody stuff, going through a divorce as well. And you've done a pretty good job of covering the factual stuff, right?
Yes.
Um, so let me ask you, why? Why
Why?
cover what was going on in, his life?
For one, I kind of just stumbled into it.
Mhm,
I'm going through a divorce. So if you look at my content, most of it is geared toward divorce and men-centric content.
mhm,
And someone challenged me to get the original divorce papers. And I
mhm.
know like the impact divorce can have on men, like you 9 times more likely to self-transition going through a divorce. So I started looking it up, and I have an investigator background, so I started searching public records, and I start finding all of his lawsuits. Because at first I'm like, the divorce is what pushed him over, and then as I start looking into his life, and then people start contacting me and telling me things, he had a lot more going on in his life than just divorce. So it's mostly out of curiosity and some closure for the fans.
Okay. Good, good. Now, have an extra piece on that too as an external guy that's watching it. I think that there's lessons to be taught. One of the things about YouTube is that it's basically one of the biggest search engines out there. But if people are doing content like you are, like you're a producer of content, I'm a producer of content, but I'm also a consumer of content as well. And I watch your stuff because I think that there's lessons to be taught. And one of the things about JDF that just really stands out is how much he allowed other people and other things to affect his life. Now, he didn't make some of the best choices out there. I guess that he did cheat on his, you
That's the
know,
rumor.
that's the rumor. Okay.
There's no confirmed mistress, but that was in his wife's divorce petition. She did say he committed adultery.
Hmm.
So
It's when I look around at people that are highly stressful, one of the things that I say is that, well, you've allowed that on yourself. So you said for you, keeping the hobbies, you spend time with your daughter. What are the things outside of those two that you do to keep those stresses away from you? If you have anything else to add to that.
I mean, every now and then I'll pop into the gym. I'll watch a movie. I mean, I'll watch like John Wick or BMF, something like that. I'm watching BMF right now. I'm watching Your Honor. But I really don't watch TV too much. But the goal is, sometimes just taking your mind off of it, just shutting your brain off and just doing something that's not productive, even though it sounds bad, it is productive for your mental sanity. Like a kind of like a reset. Because when I'm
There it
watching
is.
BMF, I'm not thinking about divorce. When I'm watching Your Honor, I'm not thinking about divorce.
There it is. And that's the point that I was hoping that you shared and got to as well, because that's how it was for me when I had a mindset shift, man. It was simply, all right, like I don't want to think about what I'm sitting in now, let me hop on and game with the fellas, man. I'm a big gamer. I play on Xbox, Call of Duty,
Yeah.
Madden,
I I
sometimes
I
2K.
played Elden Ring.
There you go. Yep. And just, not so much focusing on what you're going through, and looking forward towards other things or hobbies. We got somebody in the chat, the sports bar. Shout out to coach over there. He says not being productive and watching sports is a good alternative. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. And um with JDF too. So I'm a huge comic guy, like going to comic cons and things like that. I never had the opportunity to meet him, but I know some people that did, and they said, man, the guy always seemed positive. He was engaging with the fans and things like that. And when the news came out about, what happened with him, it was hard for people to believe that that's what was going on with him. But he hit a lot of the factors that when you look up what are the factors that people have when they self delete, it was, marital issues, it was, stress and things with kids. I don't think anything has came out about his finances, has it?
Nothing that I'm aware of, but I mean, that's always going to be a component. Always going
Gotcha.
to be a component. I don't think he was broke or anything, but his definition of broke and our definition of broke could be two different things. You're talking about a guy who lives in $1 million home. You
True
know what
that.
I'm saying? So it's a little different, but I have no idea what his financials were looking like.
All right. Going back to before you became a dad, man, was being a father something that you've always kind of thought about or had in the back of your mind?
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know my father, so well, I know him, but I don't have a relationship with him. I'll say that. So I
Mm,
always wanted to be a father to kind of like make sure I have a relationship with my daughter and
okay.
be and active in her life. And you want to do it right. Two-parent household, we married, no kids out of wedlock. And then literally 1 year after she was born, it was over.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you that, and I hoped it wasn't, a too insensitive thing because with your kid being young and then going through a divorce now, that's a quick shift. Was
Mm,
how do I ask this? Was having a kid an additional stressor in your marriage?
yes. Everything changed after the kid.
Talk about it.
Well, she, the mother of my daughter, she was off work. So she was caring for the kid, and that's when, the thing happened where everyone had to get the jab. I don't want to,
Mhm.
uh, flag your stream or anything, but so that happened, and in the midst of having our daughter, she lost her job. I'm an essential worker, so I still had to go to work. So what happened ultimately is I'm going to work, she's at home with our kid, our daughter, and she's like, "You're getting a vacation because you get to go to work." And I'm with our daughter all day who does not take naps. So you had that, and I'm not working like no regular job. I'm working 12-hour shifts. And the job is about 45 minutes away. So typically I'm going for anywhere between 14 and a half to 15 hours a day.
So you had that commute life.
Commute life. And then when I come home, I gotta sleep because I gotta be back at work. Now, granted, I only work like 2 to 3 days a week, but it was in successions, like two on, two off, three on.
Got
2
you.
off. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, when I had those 3 days on, I would come home and I would be a zombie on that 3rd day. And she's like, "Well, you're not helping, enough around the house." And I'm like, "All right, well, I can try to help more." And I offered to buy a laundry service because she's like, "You need to help me with the laundry." Now, mind you, this is a person who's at home all day. Only job is to take care of our daughter. "No, I don't want you to buy a service. I want you to do it." So now it's like a power thing in my mind. And I want you to help more with our daughter because there were times I would just come home and just go to sleep. And she like, you got to help with our daughter. So I would come home after 14-hour or 12-hour shift, feed my daughter breakfast, get her dressed, then go to sleep. But ultimately, it still went left. It still went left, and she wanted out. In my opinion, she wanted out. I was at work. She was looking for apartments for months, and I didn't find this out until she moved out because she wasn't happy. And when we were separated, she thought that it would potentially bring us closer, but it just pushed us apart. And like now that I'm going through the divorce process, when she moved out, she was preparing for divorce. She emptied her 401k. She took money out of her bank accounts. That doesn't signal to me, hey, we're going to work this out.
Agreed.
So you factor that all in, and now how I'm seeing her act during the divorce. I am grateful. I am, hey, you want to take all my money? Sure, go for it. I'm happy because it sucks for our daughter, but I'm happy she cashing me out now. Then we're supposed to have another kid and buy a bigger house. So, she's asking for 2 years alimony. This I probably wouldn't have got cashed out for another 10 years where she would have been guaranteed 5 years alimony.
Mm.
So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, but when you live with someone, it reveals their true character. When you divorce someone, you'll see their true intentions. And
Ooh.
that's what my that's what I'm learning. And even my divorce attorney was like, I told you to file for divorce soon as she moved out. You didn't listen because I thought she was different. She said she only wanted the equity and in joint custody. And
Man.
at that point, she changed her mind. So there's, and I'm silly for not going with my lawyer what he said because I'm paying this guy. He's been doing it over a decade. He told me to file for divorce. I'm like, no, she's not like that. So even in the divorce, I'm like, no, she different. She different. And we were friends, co-parent until I got the letter from her attorney that she wanted everything she was legally entitled to, including $10,000 of credit card bills.
Man.
So there go the whole story.
Okay, this is why this is titled What Men Need to Know. I can't tell you how many times when I'm having these conversations, which is, these type of conversations is what prompted me to have this Chats with Dad series. Outside of online, right? When I'm talking to the homies, I'm out grabbing dinner at a sports bar somewhere, and then I strike up a conversation with somebody. You hear them, talk about their personal stuff, and you hear the thing fairly often. I thought she was different.
Oh, every guy in divorce thought she was different. And
Every single
you
one.
never see when I got married, I never thought I would be getting divorced. Even when she first moved out, I'm like, we gonna work it out. She gonna come back. And then she starts saying some things, and then my eyes start opening, and then I'm like, oh, this is over because you could say I caught off the marriage. I was like, oh, we tried to do the counseling thing. Didn't work out.
So
Now,
did I.
mind you, even before she moved out and she was stressing about not having a job, I said, hey, you don't even have to work. I could pay all the bills. You could be a stay-at-home mom, spend all the time with our daughter. And she didn't want that. So to that, like hindsight's 2020, I'm like, oh, she just wanted out.
Mhm.
So it's a bad deal either
Yep.
way.
Yep. Hindsight being 2020 is that clarity that you get. Like I go back and I kind of think about the things that when I was trying to make things work on my side, right? Going through the counseling stuff, trying to make things work. There is a point that I think because if she would have said early on, hey, I just want out, I would have been like, okay, let's make this, happen. She didn't say that early on, but in the back of my head, I kind of knew. I kind of knew, but I was drinking some hopium, I guess. And having that hopium, man, is it all it does is delay what you just know in your gut. Because when she finally said it, like when she said I want a divorce, I don't know. I'm speaking for me. I think she wanted me to be the one to say it. But when she finally said it, I felt nothing inside other than matter of fact, I can tell you exactly what I said. I said, okay, let's figure out what we need to do to make this happen. And brother, I got lucky. A few months prior, when what was this, 2019? We were looking at buying a house, and it was her that was pressing it. I didn't want to buy because I didn't want to stay where I was living at. Like, I don't want to plant roots here when our daughter graduates high school because she's 15 now. I want to be gone.
Right.
And she was like, oh, I really want to buy, and I don't see why you don't want to do it. It's selfish. And I was telling her, I don't want to live here. I don't want to make here roots. And I'm so lucky that just prior to closing, after we done put the earnest money down, we found the property and everything. I was only doing it to keep her quote unquote happy, so to speak. I there was this moment that I had where my heart just felt like it was shrinking and it was going to explode. And I woke up and I said, I'm not doing this. I'm not buying this house. It is not what I want. We are going to stop this from happening. And she cried. She was upset, right? But looking back, man, it was the right thing to do because, in my opinion, and she might dispute this, and I know that she watches my stuff sometimes. She might dispute this in that if we had gotten that house, I think that the divorce would have been contentious. We would have had to hire a lawyer because she would have wanted,
The equity.
certain things. And I think most men, I can't speak for you, but I think we're very similar in this. What's in the best interest of the kid for real? Not your emotions. What's in the best interest of the kid for real? And let's make this as simple as possible because if I'm paying a lawyer, you're paying a lawyer, or how it kind of most turns out, I'm paying for both of our lawyers.
I am.
That's future earnings that's basically getting flushed down the toilet when you and I can work this out together. I'm glad we did. Had we gotten that house, I know for a fact that that would not have been the case.
I've spent over $20,000 in lawyer fees. I currently pay temporary alimony, child support, and daycare. So that's all money that could have easily went to our daughter's college fund. But it's she wants everything. And when someone wants everything, and I'm like, well, here's the truth of the matter. After I told her I wanted a divorce in April, I sent her blank dissolution papers in June
Mhm.
and said, hey, just tell me what you want. She said, hey, I'm not signing anything till I get a place to stay and a job. I said, cool, whatever. In December, she had a job. She had a place to stay. I sent her completed forms with the equity and us having joint custody with no child support. Traditionally, before I filed for divorce, she would say, "Hey, I spent this amount of money on our daughter," and I'll say, "All right, cool. I'll just shoot her half the money." Boom. And in some instances, I'll just pay for the whole shopping spree. Fast forward, I get the she didn't like the in December, she didn't like the evaluation of the house. She said it was too low. She gets an evaluation, it comes back higher. And I'm like, okay, your lawyer's supposed to send us a red line mark red line separation agreement back. So I sent the separation agreement with my equity. They were supposed to cross it out and just send, hey, this is what we want. And it was supposed to be a smooth process where I signed, she signed, and we go our separate ways. That didn't happen. I got the letter saying she wanted everything she was legally entitled to. So then I filed for divorce because I'm trying to handle it outside the court. So that's a mistake. Um, if you thinking you're gonna get a divorce and they say they just gonna do this or just that, just file for divorce. If they gonna do it, great. If they don't, you already started the ball rolling because come February, I've been separated 2 years and I'm still trying to get a divorce.
Ooh.
So um I guess that's some advice for men considering marriage, which I would say don't do it unless you plan on having kids.
Now, I've been divorced for a while now, brother, and let me tell you, I don't look at marriage as something that is in the cards for me again, which is interesting because I'm also actively dating. Now, the person who I'm dating is aware of this. She is. I have told her from the jump, from day one, hey, if you're looking at marriage, I'm not that guy. And but for you, I know that this might be because you've been separated for 2 years. There's something that CGA said is that you know, you shouldn't even consider that until you have some things lined up, and he even put a time around it, like 5 to 7 years. It doesn't sound like you're completely off of marriage in
Oh, I'm
general.
off of
Am I wrong
marriage.
on that?
There is not
Oh,
a chance
oh,
in hell
okay,
I'm
okay.
married.
Hold up, hold
Make no mistake. Let me be clear. There is not a chance in hell I will ever get married again.
How about kids, man? You plan on having any more kids?
I'm getting a vasectomy. My daughter is being used to extract resources from me via child support. Based on my income, any chick I have a kid with, I'll be paying for it. even with
Okay.
50-50 custody.
I
So
had
it's
a
no
oh, sorry about that.
it I just don't want my kids to be used to extract resources from me. So no kids, no marriage if you're dealing with me. It's off the table completely.
Man, hey, that brother said that with some conviction. Okay.
Oh, it
With
it is what it is.
with conviction. I had a vasectomy while I was still married. It was one of those things too. Oh, that's a lesson. Men, all right. First of all, depending on what state you're in, if you're married or where you go to have it done, you have to have consent from your wife in order to have a vasectomy.
That's
Where I
wild.
live, and I got it done by the VA because I'm a Air Force veteran. You do counseling. I guess like the counseling is a normal part of what
Make
you have
sure
to
you're
do.
gonna do it.
Yep. And one of the questions that he asked was, did you and your wife talk about it if you're married? I said, yeah. He goes, did she consent to this? And I was like, yes, but what if she said no? Then he's like, well, we'd have to work
Your
on
body,
some
your choice though, right?
things. And yo, that was mind blowing to me to understand and know that, if I was single, not married, I could do whatever I wanted to do as far as like having a vasectomy. But just because I'm married, somebody else has to consent to that too.
That's wild.
Family law, I think, needs to be revisited, needs to be updated because some of the things that I'm hearing, men assume that if they're getting a divorce, that they're the ones that's going to get shafted. That's wrong. But the perception is reality in a lot of different things. And sometimes men choose not to fight because they don't want to deal with the stress, right?
Sure.
And you hear a lot of times in the streets, men are simple. We are. We are. It doesn't mean we're not complex or intricate. It means that it doesn't take much for a man to just be a man. It doesn't take much for us to be happy. And man, I don't know. I'm going to catch flack for this one, but I'm just going to say it. Whereas I think it doesn't take a lot for men to be happy. It seems like it takes a whole quadratic equation for a woman to be happy. And it's just something that, in my opinion, brother, I think I'll never understand.
Well, what makes them happy on Monday may not be the same thing that make them happy on Tuesday. It changes. Where guys are simple. What makes us happy on Monday will work Tuesday, will work Wednesday, Thursday, will work a year from now. But for them, oh, I used to be happy when you did that, and now I need something more.
Now, here's where things are going to be interesting. We're both fathers of young girls, soon to be young women. There is somewhat, depending on what space you operate out of, it seems like there's a perceived gender war. It seems like there's this narrative that's out there that modern women are trash and that they're not marriageable and things like that, man. And I am a father of a young woman. Now,
Me too.
I like to think that I'm keeping my daughter out of the side of the narrative of modern women. How are you going to parent your child so that the influences that in your opinion are negative doesn't impact her?
I could do my best to educate her, but a lot of those characteristics after she was born, were instilled into her mother. So, with that being said, it will be an uphill battle. The best advice I can give to her is the same thing that CGA say, don't be a single mom. No kids out of wedlock. That's the best advice. But if she grows up to following, I guess, the modern woman footsteps, she'll deal with what comes with that. But as far as marriage, when 20 years from now, I don't think marriage would be a thing as more guys are starting to wake up, as marriage rates are starting to drop, as people like me telling my divorce story. And, I got who knows, some 18-year-old kid hearing about me getting divorced may think like, holy crap. this divorce is probably the worst thing that ever happened in my life, and it could have easily been avoided if I just never got married. Now, some people will look at that and say, well, what about your daughter? We could have had our daughter out of wedlock. Now, would I have had rights to her? No, but would I have fought to get them? Sure. Would I have
Mm,
50-50 custody? No, I probably have like every other weekend and 1 day a week, something like that. But we
okay.
didn't have to get married to have kids. We didn't have to get married to buy a house. I wish it's the biggest regret in my life. I kid you not.
There's a comment in here by my dad. He said, "A satisfied woman is a happy man. Think on it."
That's loser talk. That's loser
Pops,
talk.
yeah, yes,
I'm not putting my happiness in someone else being happy. You might as well say happy wife, happy life.
which is
No.
BS.
Hell no.
Straight up BS.
A
Anytime I hear
satisfied
somebody
is a
say,
happy man.
"Yep, happy wife, happy life," I'm like, no, no,
You
do not
lost
say that
already.
around me. In my blue pill days, brother, I said that and I cringe at the fact that I even thought that way back in the day.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. It's bad. I mean, but some guys, shout out to your dad. That could just be, how that could be what was instilled in him back in his time growing up. So
Mhm,
I'm not slighting him, but today men are like, no, what why is my happiness dependent on if I make her happy?
mhm.
Anyway.
Um, 3, so 3 years old, man, I remember that age. There's a lot coming up, and everybody's rearing is, different. What are you nervous about with being a dad and being a single dad essentially, and trying to navigate that over the next coming years?
I would say I'm nervous about, her mother dating and some other guy being around my daughter that, I don't know. And I'm sure she probably nervous about another woman being around her daughter that she don't know, potentially. Pitfalls in growing up. Right now, she's happy. She has 2 houses. She has 2 Christmases, 2 uh tool sets. I worry that when she gets older and she see the division between her mother and father, the impact it's going to have on her. Because me and her mom don't talk. We'll be at
Mhm,
a doctor's appointment. I won't say hi to her. She won't say hi to me. We talk to the doctor, and when we leave, whose ever night it is, that's who our daughter goes with.
mhm.
So that's something I probably worry about a lot. The impact divorce will have on her, not now, but a couple years down the line.
Man, that's something that I didn't really think about. I know other men go through it. Like I've shared with you, I've been pretty fortunate. Like I wouldn't consider my kid's mom and I friends, like I don't go to her, on, things like that. But I'm extremely happy that we have a non-contentious co-parenting arrangement, and it didn't start off that way, really, if I'm being honest with you. But one of the things that helped me out, man, is I decided to just make a choice to be serene, cut off the things that were really negative and people, right? Make sure that I got my finances in order. So for the guys who are out there watching, if you're struggling, the person that Henry and I talked about, CGA, he shared that for a while he lived out of his car. Okay. And if you see where the guy's at now, you would think that he's had it good, but there's a mindset and a grind that you have to have in order to be successful after you've had that really big change. And for me, that's what I decided to have a mindset shift. I decided that I wasn't going to allow the negative things that were around me to affect me. And man, it was definitely something that catapulted my life from where I was at now. It doesn't appear, and I'm just talking about appearances here, that you got slapped hard. All right. But it's still a struggle. It's still, stressful. So, what would you say from your own words to any of the young men that are out there that are considering making a decision like marriage and being a father?
Okay. For men who, if you don't want to have kids, there's no reason to get married unless you want to share benefits, because you can do everything as partners without involving the state. Now, for the men I talk to who are thinking about having kids, well, I hate to bring up stats, but it's like 17% of kids are living in a two-parent household. That means husband and wife. So you're getting married to have kids. You have to hope for the best, but plan for the worst. Because we know hope is not a strategy. So we have to plan for the worst,
Mhm.
right? So in planning for the worst, if you have a job and your wife is pregnant, if after she has the baby and y'all go y'all separate ways, will your job allow you to have 50-50 custody?
Mm.
If the answer is no, you need to be aware of that hey, he gets pregnant, you have a baby, you're not looking at 50-50 custody because your job won't allow it. Okay, so your job won't allow 50-50 custody. So now that you're gonna default to a standard every other weekend. If she gets pregnant, has the baby, y'all go your separate ways, can you see your kid every other weekend based on your work schedule? If the answer is no, now you have to come to terms with that. You won't have 50-50 custody and you won't see your kid every other weekend without a career change. Okay, now you have to factor in child support. If you make $100,000, chances are your child support payment is going to be around $1,000 a month. Okay, so now that you know you can't have 50-50, you can't see your child every other weekend, are you willing to pay her $1,000 a month to care for your kid? And now, if you know the answers to all those questions and you still want to quote unquote roll the dice and get married, and then hey, you went into it fully knowing what was potentially could happen, and you thought you were going to beat the odds, but just like the casino, the house always wins. So
House always wins. That
uh,
part right there, I'm definitely going to clip. I think that yeah, no, man, like you had some very good questions to bring up that it was very clear. It was very okay, if, if, then. And I like if then statements. If you do X, then Y. If you do Z, then A. And I think when people understand the simplicity of impact statements, or I'm sorry, if then statements, and then understand
yeah,
literally what the impacts of the then part is, then you can make some wiser decisions about what it
yeah.
is that you want to do.
Here,
And
here, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was like, here's the thing, right? What men do, like, and I know this happened to someone I know. They got married, had a kid, marriage broke off. They thought they was gonna get 50-50 custody. You work in a steel mill. You work a rolling 12 hours a day. You can't even see your kid every other weekend. You can't even take your kid to daycare. You can get up from daycare consistently. So why would you think you're going to get 50-50? And even though our state is going towards starting at 50-50, your work schedule won't allow it. And your wife knows this. She
Yeah.
knows you can't have 50-50. So when she has that child with you, knowing your work schedule, the child essentially you could say it becomes a insurance plan. Hey, if this ever go left, I know he's making $100,000. I can get $1,000 a month and primary custody because I can't even see the daughter every other weekend. So I just want men to tread lightly with marriage and kids.
That right there, that part, understanding the impacts, not drinking hopium. All right. Hope is not a strategy. That is something that you said. That is something that I echo. I heard that somewhere, and for some reason, when I heard it, it clicked. Oh, well, I hope that no, hope
No.
is not a strategy. If you want to roll the dice with that, I'm going to tell you good luck and just send me $5,000 and then roll that dice with hope and see what happens. You might as well just flush your money down the toilet if you want to live on hope.
Yeah, so that's why I tell people plan for the worst. You don't have to, like, the prenup is, hey, we're planning for divorce. Okay, sure. Maybe it is planning for divorce, but I hope we stay together and I hope we never have to use the prenup. Same thing with, if you having kids, do you have a job where you can have 50-50 custody? No. Are you going to plan to get one? Can you get one before you have the kids? Because if not, once you lose custody, it's an uphill battle to get any amount of it back. So that's just my 2 cents for men. Hopefully they listen, but they'll wake up.
All right. Hey, Henry, thanks for coming on. I told you I was going to keep it at about an hour. I understand that you have a live stream that you've got coming on later tonight. So tell the people out there that are watching my channel a little bit about what you do on the online content creation and where they can find you.
You can find me on Henry Resilient on YouTube, and I do little public records investigations. I talk to people, I get information, and I just put out the facts and let the people make the decision on what they want to believe or not. And currently, I'm doing the covering Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, who self transitioned, everything that was going on in his life. And today I have his personal assistant who was with him for over a decade, sharing even more details about him that are not in the media, that you can't find anywhere else on YouTube. And we go live in 2 hours.
Okay, all right. I will have the link to your channel on YouTube because YouTube allows me to. So if anybody wants to follow Henry Resilient, click on his profile on YouTube and you'll be able to see the content and things that he puts out there. Hey, Henry, thanks for
Hey,
coming on, man. I asked you if you were willing to do this, and you said, "Yep, let's just set it up." So I appreciate you, wanting to come on to my platform and my stream, and just kind of have a conversation and a talk, share knowledge that men need to know and understand before they go out there and make decisions. So, good luck today. I'll be popping in as well from time to time on your stream
okay.
today, and I'll be over there to definitely check it out. Because, like I said, I was a huge Jason David Frank fan, so I'm kind of
Yeah, we
that.
all are Green Ranger fans.
Yep.
Same age, same age, same age. Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, brother, man.
All right. You
Catch you
take
on.
it easy, man.
All right,
All right.
peace.
Peace.
So that was Henry Resilient. I don't know how long he's been a part of quote unquote coach gang, but I've seen him in the chats as well. And I was happy that he was willing to come on. One of the things that I heard from him that I found interesting was he was very adamant about, not wanting to become a father again, and that he doesn't want his children to be used as uh, resources against him. All right. And I think some men are seeing it that way, right? They're definitely seeing it that way. It is definitely occurring. It is occurring. It is happening. And once you kind of have that realization, what you do with that realization is up to you. Okay. I knew I wanted a vasectomy. I knew I wanted only one kid. Now, whether my kid's mom was on board with that early on, I can't speak for her. But for me, I never really wanted a large family because I understood that each kid that you have, right, is, and this is going to sound bad, but it's not. Each kid that you have is a liability, plain and simple. I've heard somebody say that kids are lovable liabilities, right? I love my daughter. She knows that, right? I take care of her. I parent her. I try to educate her on things so that she doesn't make long-term decisions. Look, we all have to grow up. We all have to grow up. We all have to make our own decisions, and we have to live with those decisions. Okay. Part of why I do what I do with these chats with dads, with my vlogs that I have every Tuesday, is getting people to understand the impact of those decisions and, quite simply make better ones. Okay. Some people, they learn by living and doing. Others can see what's going on with other people and go, yeah, I don't want that to happen to me. But ultimately, as long as you're going into something with the if then, right? Understanding what the ifs are, all right, having that plainly written down, then and then realizing what the impact of that then statement is. If you can live with that, go for it. Okay. If you can live with that, go for it. And if things don't work out, then you're going to have to live with the consequences. Salute to Henry for coming on. If anybody wants to come on and chop it up with me with the chats for dads, hit me up. My email is theactualkingsmith@gmail.com. It ain't hard. Shoot me an email, put in the title chats with dads, and we'll get something set up. Or you can hit me on any one of my social medias that I have out there, which is in the description on YouTube and Facebook. I've got a link tree that has all my social medias. Okay. I'm out here. I'm not hard to find. Misery Loves Company popped up. Salute, says, dang, I missed it. Hey, that's on me. It was supposed to be at 2:00 today. I typically go live at 8:30 mode. So I put it up for 8:30. But if you want to go back and check out what we said on 1.5x speed, please do. Henry definitely said some things, dropped some gems. I'm going to chop up some of what he said and repost it out there because he said some things that I was like, oh man, I've never heard it that way, and put it out there and let the people that listen decide on the value of it, right? Hope everybody has a great rest of your Sunday. If you watch American football, hope your team's winning. My Baltimore Ravens are going to be playing later tonight, and I'm going to be checking them out while I do my Sunday night sports stream. Sean, I'm about to sign off, man, but I appreciate you popping in and saying what's up, bro. I've seen some of the stuff that you've been putting out there as well. I don't know if you're a dad, Sean. If you are, let's chop it up on one of my chats with dads here sometime soon. All right? Hope everybody has a great rest of your day, y'all. I'm out. Peace.